Well, a lot of excitement brewing for the Atlanta Falcons as hopes for the upcoming season are increasing. Maybe some questions as well. Maria Martin joining us now. Free agency is top of mind.
Crazy.
The Falcons are looking to bring in some help.
Yeah, and a lot of it. I mean, the Falcons have made a lot of moves. So let's break down what free agency actually looks like.
Yeah, give us the timeline. Bring us up to speed.
You see Tua Tagovailoa, and you say, okay, why is he not trotting through the doors in Atlanta right now? That can't happen, actually, until Wednesday at 4 o'clock. So the NFL legal tampering window, basically in layman's terms, it just means that agents and teams and players can all start talking about, if you are a free agent, where can I go? Do I stay here? It depends. We can get into unrestricted free agency and all that, but I'll bore everyone to tears. So all you need to know is they can start talking on Monday. So that has already happened. They can agree to these things in principle. Now, the deals cannot officially go through until Wednesday at 4 p.m. So we're looking at tomorrow afternoon. Tua Tagovailoa could officially sign his contract here in Atlanta. So the Falcons have been really hard at work. This roster is going to look very, very different than it has in years past. And I think that that's a good thing. You know, Kevin Stefanski and Ian Cunningham have come in here, looked at the roster, evaluated, and said, we're going to do things a lot differently. There are a lot of free agents for the Falcons that they are not holding on to, that they're getting rid of, and then a lot that they're bringing in. And I think that they're doing the right thing by bringing in a lot of veteran help. There's a lot of controversy on some of the players that they've brought in so far, but I think it's been great to see all the moves that they've made so far.
Let's talk about Tua here, because a household name for many folks. He's a quarterback, folks who might not know.
Yeah.
Some of our viewers are locked-in sports fans. Others, I think, probably don't know as much. The Falcons, it's your expectation that they will sign Tua Tagovailoa formally tomorrow. Walk us through what this quarterback room is going to look like at this point.
Totally different.
It's had a lot of changes, right?
A lot of change. There's been change every year since Matt Ryan was the quarterback here, who's now the president of football.
And how long ago was that for people who maybe don't remember?
This has been a long time now. 6 seasons, I think,
Many
the last
years.
time. Yeah. So, you know, for Tua coming here, Tua Tagovailoa, if you don't know who he is, he played at the University of Alabama, perhaps had the best throw of his entire career inside Mercedes-Benz Stadium in the 2019 National Championship game. And that kind of resurrected the conversation about Tua in the NFL. And I think it's very fascinating that that throw happened here in this city. And now, you know, however many years later, he's going to be in a Falcons uniform. And for the Falcons fans that are really concerned about this signing, I understand it from the standpoint of Tua's hurt a lot. We know that he's had a very healthy, for lack of a better term, history of concussions. And that is a big concern for a lot of people. And then you're sitting around looking at Michael Penix Jr., who also is not the healthiest quarterback. He's still working his way back from an ACL injury. Those are your two quarterbacks, two lefty quarterbacks sitting in that room come Wednesday, because Kirk Cousins will be released come 4 o'clock on Wednesday. And then Easton Stick, who is currently navigating free agency, he will not be an Atlanta Falcon anymore. So you have two quarterbacks. You know, there's plenty of options that the Falcons could go out and get in terms of depth. Some teams ride with two, a lot don't. It'll be interesting to see if they carry 3 or 2 throughout the season. But I think when it comes to Tua Tagovailoa, here's the deal. The Dolphins are on the hook for a lot of money for Tua, okay? They owe him $54 million. That is what they will pay him next year. The Atlanta Falcons, let me be very clear, are not on the hook for that financially. So he's going to be making a lot of money. That's the Miami Dolphins' fault. All the Atlanta Falcons have to pay him is the NFL Veteran League minimum, which is $1.3 million, and all they got to do is pay him that for 1 year. To me, that's not a bad deal, especially when you have a quarterback who's working his way back from injury, like we mentioned, Michael Penix Jr., and there's something to a lefty-on-lefty quarterback. What I mean by that is, let's say Tua Tagovailoa is in there, Michael Penix Jr. is not healthy. All you got to do is switch to another quarterback with the same hand. A lot of people may say, oh, it's not really a big deal. It kind of is. And so I think that that was probably very intriguing for this front office. I also just think, you know, Tua's not a bad quarterback. It's the injury history that I think frustrates a lot of people, and his setup in Miami was ridiculous for a long time. He didn't have a good offensive line. He has a much improved offensive line when he comes here, and I think that it's a refreshing of his brand for him as a quarterback. He was a 2023 Pro Bowler. He led the league in passes in 2023. That ultimately became his Pro Bowl year. And so this is a very interesting situation. You bring in a veteran, immediate competition at the quarterback position. It's always a good thing.
That's what I was going to ask you about. Is there a clear starter in this quarterback room now?
It's a loaded question simply because this front office has no allegiance to Michael Penix Jr. And they're looking at him in a cold tub and saying, well, what can you give me in a couple months? None of us know the answer to that. And if you ask Michael Penix Jr., he's going to tell you that, hey, I'll be ready. I'm going to be ready. And he can't say anything other than that. And listen, I hope that Michael Penix Jr. is ready. I hope he jumps up out of the cold tub. I hope he goes through his rehab process and just absolutely kills it. I really do. But there is a very big level of unknown. And this is the position in the NFL, in fact, in all the sports, that unknown is not a place you want to be. You want some certainty in the quarterback position in the NFL. And what you get in Tua is a guy that actually does know how to play, who has proven that he can play. I'm not saying Michael can't. But Tua has a proven record now. He was drafted in 2020. He has years under his belt in the NFL. And so you bring a guy in who is very excited about a change of scenery. There was some tumultuous things that happened in Miami with Tua towards the back end. And so this is a refreshing thing for him. And then you have Michael Penix Jr. motivated by the fact that, wait a second, I have a veteran who is not named Kirk Cousins, who has life in front of him in the league right behind me. I got to go. I got to play. So I think it's healthy competition. I think it's great. A surefire starter, I think, is hard just because we don't know Michael Penix Jr.'s status for the beginning of the season. If you were to ask me if he was fully healthy, I'd say Penix was your guy, but having competition doesn't hurt.
Let me ask you this one last question before we let you go. You mentioned the front office has no allegiance to Penix.
Right.
That's because the front office has gone through a great deal of changes. What are you learning? What are we learning about what may be the priorities and the philosophy of this newly restructured front office?
Well, to me, what this Tua deal actually signals is that they are thinking forwardly when it comes to the quarterback position, meaning in 2027, if there's an attractive quarterback that they could draft, because remember, Zach, they don't have a first-round draft pick this year, and that's typically where you're going to draft your quarterback of the future. Yes, I'm very well aware there's been deeper quarterbacks drafted that have become franchise quarterbacks, but typically it's those first rounders that are your guys, and the Falcons don't have an option for that. So with Tua, you get a 1-year bridge gap. You get Michael to push whatever he can do, and assuming he's healthy and he's your guy, then all problems are solved, right? Well, what happens if he's not? And what happens if he's not the quarterback that this new regime wants him to be? Those are all options on the table. And so by bringing in a guy like Tua, it also opens the window of a younger quarterback in the future. So that's the philosophy kind of coming into shape here. But the reunion of a guy like Olamide Zaccheaus, who is a former Falcons wide receiver who's now coming back to Atlanta. And then you also have a reunion with Austin Hooper, who has previously worked with Kevin Stefanski. He's a tight end who everyone loves. Kevin Stefanski, the new Falcons head coach, loves the tight end. It was his first job when he got a job in the NFL as an assistant coach. He was a tight ends coach. The pairing of Kyle Pitts and Austin Hooper looks great. And so you're starting to see a little bit of what it looks like, but I'm telling you, it's going to look so much different, not just in terms of a front office standpoint or a staff standpoint. We know that that looks different, but this roster, the philosophy, the scheme, all of it is going to change. So for Falcons fans freaking out, I get it, because there's been so much change really ever since Matt Ryan left that building as a player, and it's exhausting and you're tired of not making the playoffs. And I understand all those things, but I think a lot of change actually benefits this franchise in so many different ways, considering what you've been doing the last 8 years doesn't work. So blowing it up essentially is a lot of what they're doing, and I think it's going to pay dividends for them in the long run.
A lot of change, more to come, and It sounds like more to come starting tomorrow officially at 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
I know you're going to be watching that closely. The offseason continues, and it's going to go quickly.
Yes, I know. It never ceases to amaze me how crazy it is, even though we call it the offseason.
Well, we know you guys are always on top of it. Maria, as always, we appreciate it.